Yep, and she's here.
All right. All right, well, let's just get started. Okay, welcome everybody, Mountain Women in Business. I am the Secretary Treasurer of Mountain Women in Business. So if you ever have questions on it, you can certainly reach out to me. You can reach out to Deb. You can reach out to Pat. All of our information is on our Mountain Women in Business website. And so the first thing we're going to do is just a quick 30-second introduction of everybody, and then we'll roll right into Clarissa's time. And thank you for sharing your time with us. And then we'll move on to Mallory. So, and then at the end, if anybody has any events or anything that you want the group to know about, then either just let us know in your introduction or at the end of the meeting. Either one works. So, okay, so I will start. Stephanie Faradini. I'm a contract paralegal and bookkeeper. And this week I am being a grandma in Stamford, Connecticut. So that's super fun. And so I work a lot on QuickBooks Online, and for solo practitioners, I'm interested in Mallory's discussion. I'm doing a lot of conservatorships and guardianships this month, so that's really been taking up a lot of my time. So, okay, so that's me, and we'll just move on to Deb.
Hi there, I'm Deb Evans. I am social media still active, but I am retired. So if anybody needs any assistance, let me know. I work for wine and coffee. So super simple. And if I disappear, I'm here. It's just my internet is glitchy. So I am recording this so that we can go back and watch it later on our Facebook group. And I'm thrilled to see everybody.
Great, great. Good morning, Mary Pat. Oh, it looks like you might be muted.
I'm mute.
Okay, I'm muted. Hello, everybody. I'm Mary Pat, and right now I'm searching for my surfboard, but I can't find it. But anywho, I'm with Evergreen Nursing Services, also CSANE Consulting LLC. And my background is in healthcare. I've been a nurse for more years than I think I've been alive. And currently what I'm launching and working on is hospice and palliative care consulting, as well as becoming a death doula, which is a person who assists in the dying process like a midwife. And that's me.
Okay, well, welcome. Great to have you. Pat, good morning.
Good morning. Pat Fredrickson with Smarter Women, Colorado, and I'm talking to you from Scottsdale, where it's warm, sunny, and no snow. And we're driving back right after this meeting. I'm with you on your financial planning for your retirement, do your Medicare, but basically take care of you and let you know what all your options are. And I have some amazing software that can just plan you out to 104. So,
great. Pat helped my husband with his the information stuff after he turned 65, and we are all set up and running smoothly. So thank you, Pat. All right, Beth, good morning.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Beth Anderson with Pearl Coaching, LLC. I have a few events coming up. One is my 21-day habit transformation, which is May 3rd. It's a Monday night, and it's a 4-week event. You can go to my website. I'm also looking for people to sign up for my newsletter. So if you want to go to my website and get my newsletter, I send that out weekly. And I may be looking for an office, but I don't want to pay more than like $100 a month. So if anybody has or knows of anybody that wants a cool $100 in their pocket for a month. So anyway, that's all. And I'm glad to be. I wasn't here last time, so I missed it.
Oh, okay. Well, Beth, if you'd like to put your information in the chat room, that would be great.
You do.
Okay, let's see. I'm trying to keep it in line here. Where were we? And so next, it looks like I'm going to skip Mallory and Clarissa just because you're the speakers. So I'll move on to Alicia. Good morning.
Good morning, Alicia Sexton with Remax Alliance in Evergreen. I'm your spunky, lovable local realtor, and I'm here to help you navigate our crazy real estate roads right now, and they are crazy, let me tell you. So I'm happy to be here.
Okay, great. Lori, good morning.
Good morning. I'm Lori with PeaceWorks. We're a nonprofit DV sex assault, sex trafficking, stalking organization serving Park, Mountain, Jeffcoat, and Clear Creek.
Great. Kim, good morning.
Good morning. How you doing?
Karen, yep.
Oh,
Good morning.
Karen. Okay, I'm sorry.
No, you go. You go.
Okay, all right. Anyway, I'm Karen Miller, KSM Designs. I design one of a kind jewelry, and Mother's Day is coming, so don't forget that. Believe me, even if it's for you or your mama, let me know. I can help you. And for all members, I give a nice discount. And so it goes from pearls all the way to whatever. But if I can help you at all, let me know at Karen Miller, KSM Designs. Thank you.
Great. Good morning. All right, Ruth.
Good morning. I am Ruth Day, Cleaning Green 123, Norwalk's independent consultant, and I am looking for people who are interested in making a healthy switch to rid the chemicals from your home and have a better solution in your home that is healthier for you and safer for you. So I am currently doing an Earth Day celebration in my VIP group, and I have an Earth Day party just happening online. It's basically not a party. I'm just sharing with you different products that you could use that we have, and also just giving some Earth Day tips each day. Started it yesterday. If you're interested in joining, reach out to me, and I'd love to add you to one of the groups.
Wonderful. So I've purchased some product from Norwex from Ruth, and it's just really, really a nice product. So I definitely recommend, if you haven't looked in those products, you should. All right, let's go to Kim. Good morning.
Hello, my name's Kim Trasnak. My business is called Granny T's Woodworks. I do woodworking. I make aspen tables. I do a lot of wood burning and sell things at craft shows. So I make candle holders and jeepers, I can't think of things right now. All kinds of plaques that have to do with coat hooks, key hooks. I make aspen lamps, different types of lamps. That's
Great.
me.
Great. Well, welcome, Kim. All right, Audrey, good morning.
Good morning. I was on mute. Hi, everyone. It's nice to be here. I'm with Aging Services Consultants, and we are care managers. So if somebody needs some help at home or moving into, we're also placement referral consultants. So we help people move into independent living and assisted living. We are a small company with a big heart. Also, I have Get Along gadgets. So gadgets that help make a person's life easier. So if any of you know of someone that needs a little help, just with older adults are not familiar with what the disability community is familiar with. And so I can help them. I work with assistive technology partners. So give me a call if we can help. Thanks.
Great. Good morning. Cindy, good morning. Good to see you.
Yes, good to see you. I was in, I think Sedona the last meeting, so probably on a hiking trail at the time of this meeting. So good morning, everybody. My name is Cindy Denson. I am a yoga teacher, a meditation / mindfulness instructor, and a life coach. And my specialty in life coaching is really helping people identify the limiting belief systems they have first, and then what to do about it, as opposed to just going to the what. I had been teaching yoga over Zoom in my home-based studio since the pandemic. I'm suspending that for this summer because we're going to be traveling around the country a lot in our camper, or around Colorado, I should say, and the West. And but I do have some appointment-based services, private yoga, what I'm calling event-based yoga. If you want to either come to the studio with a small group or have me come to you for a hike, for a party, for a whatever. And I'll put and I'm also blogging a lot these days, and intending to turn that blog into a book. So Deb, I might be bringing you wine and coffee because I really am struggling with social media. I sort of know how to do it and I sort of resist it. So that's me.
Okay, great. Lisa Hoffman, good morning.
Good morning, everyone. I'm sorry, I had to shut my video off. I'm really struggling with my internet today, and it seems better now that my video is off and it's not struggling there. So my name is Lisa Hoffman. I am a local realtor with Berkshire Hathaway Elevated Living Real Estate. My office is right by Evergreen Lake, and I have a number of years of experience doing real estate. And additionally, I also am a volunteer at Intermountain Humane Society in Pine. If you have anyone with real estate needs, buying and selling, it's a great time to be a seller. You can find me at loveconifer.com.
Great. Sarah, good morning.
Good morning. I think everyone's having problems this morning with internet. I got frozen, so I had to bounce back in. So I might be doing the same thing because everyone's kind of glitchy. But I work with EP Wealth Advisors as a wealth advisor in the area. I work specifically with executives, helping them manage their benefits and their in small businesses. So I work with that, and then always looking. I love this group because I've been able to use resources here, finding resources for my clients. So it's been a great match. So thanks.
Love that. Yeah. Love that. Okay. Good morning, Rachel.
Good morning. I am Rachel Henderson with Rachel's Creations. I'm having computer issues too, sorry.
Yeah, bad.
I do murals, I do face painting, I do canvas painting parties. I come to your location.
Boy, that one's really bad today,
weird.
Rachel.
What the heck? Oh my gosh, weird.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay. So let's just mute you, Rachel, both of your systems, and then
Okay,
yeah.
we'll leave it at that. Sorry.
Okay. All right. Okay, Mallory.
Hello. So my name is Mallory Hasbrook. I'm somewhat new to this group, and I was also traveling during the last meeting. So it's good to see all of you today. I am an attorney with Welborn Sullivan Meck Tookey in Denver, although I'm exclusively working from home out here right now, which is awesome. My practice is an interesting mix, which you'll hear more about later, but my main focus is on estate planning, probate, and elder law. So I look forward to chatting with you all later.
Perfect. Okay, did I miss anybody except Clarissa? We'll just go right into her. If I miss somebody, just holler at me. Okay, all right. Clarissa, I'll just give you the floor. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you for the invitation. I'm just honored to be here. Again, my name is, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I was just going to say, if everybody except Clarissa could mute yourself just so there's no echoes and we can really get what she's saying, that'd be fantastic.
All right. Well, thank you again. I'm Clarissa Bradstock. I'm the CEO of a company called Any Lab Test Now. So let me give you just a little bit of a background about our company. We are in franchising. We started franchising back in 2007. The concept actually started here in Atlanta, Georgia, back in 1992. And what we do is called direct access testing. So a healthcare consumer can walk right into our facility, order their own lab test, and the results go back to them. And if they choose, also back to their doctor. And it really empowers healthcare consumers that, one of our taglines is you can take control of yourself. A good example of that may be vitamin D levels. That's gotten a lot of press, especially with COVID. And what they've said is that people that get COVID and have low vitamin D levels could actually have a worse response to COVID. So we're getting a lot of interest in vitamin D testing. And for those customers of ours, they just want to come straight into us, right? Get the level. And then if they have really low levels, they can then go talk to their provider. So that's just a good example of how people come to us. We also do employer drug testing and what we call relationship DNA testing. But again, like I said, we started franchising in 2007. And now we are, as of yesterday, at 194 locations across the US. We actually have several in Colorado, 2 in Colorado Springs, and several in the Denver area. So it's just kind of a different concept for franchising. Franchising, we always think of things like quick service food, that kind of thing. So it really is kind of a niche being a healthcare franchise. And I want to say a special shout out to Deb Evans. One thing when we talk about leadership and how we've developed as leaders in networking, one of the best things in my career is actually connecting with Deb Evans. We have a mutual friend who's our VP of Business Development. I think I met Deb in 2010. And what she did is, and this is going to be something I'm going to talk about engagement. And the good news is you all are already engaged because you're here this morning, right? But she brought me in to get more involved with the International Franchise Association and more networking and meeting wonderful people like you all. And that was such a sea change for me because I was out there on my own, right? Trying to figure all this stuff out. And really franchising is a kind of a different world because of the relationship you have with your franchisees. So just making that intro and being engaged and being part of that community was so helpful for me. So again, I want to do a special shout out to Deb and say thank you so much. And she actually spoke at one of our conferences, I think maybe twice actually. She's been involved with our franchise conferences. So one thing I want to talk a little bit about leadership, and one of my favorite quotes, and I've used it for 20 something years now, is Woody Allen's quote, 80% of success is showing up. And I always say it's the showing up part that's important. That means that you show up on time, that you show up with a smile on your face, that you're enthusiastic and you do the best that you can do, right? That seems simple, but I think we all in our business career have had maybe situations in which we didn't give our full 80%, right, in our life, right? We've all, worked in different jobs. And I can tell you that in some of my career early on, there were certain things that I did that my heart wasn't in it. And if your heart's not in it for the 80%, then you probably need to go do something else, right? And then there's that 20%. So what is the makeup of 20%? And I think that you all would agree, some degree of the makeup is luck, right? It's being at the right place at the right time, but then also leaving yourself open to taking advantage, and I mean that in a positive way, of opportunities, right? So I'll give a situation early in my career. I started in the restaurant business, and that was one where I wasn't giving my 80%. I was working hard and I was showing up, but boy, I wasn't showing up with enthusiasm. So I shifted this was back in the mid 80s, back into technology, which is interesting because I have an English degree from Welborn University. I know nothing about computers, or at least I didn't at that point. But I knew strategically I needed to try to take my restaurant experience and see if I could somehow use that to leverage getting into technology. I was fortunate enough, this is back in the days, and by the way, I'm a little bit of an introvert. You wouldn't really know that. I mean, I've tried to really work on it. It was so hard for me. I actually went down the yellow pages. Remember those guys? Going under the business section, under computers and cold calling people way outside my comfort zone, right? And landed up getting my first kind of entry-level job into technology. And within a couple of years, I was the vice president of operations. And the leaning in part was that I was young. I was in a female and a male-dominated business, which is technology, and I was scared to death. I was really scared to death when they asked me to be a manager to start with, and then became the vice president of operations, because I was also managing men that were older than me. You know, I was 26, they were 40. So boy, what a change. And like I said, I was scared to death. But took that chance, and then I faked it till I made it, right? And that's true, right? You just have to go in, not with arrogance, right? But realizing that you do have the skills, but you're going to learn as you go. And I think that's been a real important thing, you know, in my career, is just, you know, the times when you do have that kind of pit in your stomach, say, you know what, I'm going to swallow the pit and I'm going to keep charging because I know I can get this eventually. And then we talk about the luck, we talk about leaning in and taking chances, right? And then the part is, one thing that to me has always been important is keeping doors that have closed, always try to keep them a little cracked, right? In other words, if you've, you know, I've had situations where I remember the first job that I was just talking about, I got laid off after 7 years, and I was devastated because I put my heart and soul in the company. We grew. Technology companies tend to be fast tracks, and then they quickly can slide down if they don't keep up with the technology and reinvest. And that's what happened. And I was devastated. I mean, I wanted to go into a corner and just sit there for a couple of years. Now, I was very fortunate. I did go into a corner, but it was because I had 2 small children at the time. So I took a little bit of a, I leaned in enough to feel confident enough to take some time out for my kids. But one thing that I did, even though I felt devastated and I was immature enough that I felt betrayed, I think that's a really immature way of looking at business change. I reached out to the former CEO, and this was a year after, and just said, hey, you know, I'm just checking in, making sure you're okay. And he brought me back on a contract basis. And that put me in the path of where I am today. You know, one step leads to the next. So it's just kind of interesting. So, you know, when I'm talking to some of my, you know, people I'm mentoring and my children, trying to explain to them, you have to just keep rolling and know that every opportunity is a positive opportunity to also stay connected with your past, and that can lead to your growth. A couple of other things that for us as a brand, so what happened with Any Lab Tests Now is, and Deb, be sure to give me a 5-minute warning, because I'm not really watching the clock. I'm just talking from the heart. So I came in as the chief operating officer when we started franchising back in 2007. And oh my goodness, we sold a ton of franchises. Here's the problem. I knew nothing about franchising. I was really faking it until I made it. Then I met people like Deb. I got involved in the community and learned a lot more. And the CEO that we had at that time was a really good salesman and a horrible franchisor. He really did not, I think, empathize, care about the franchisees. And he really did not take care of them. So in 2013, our investors put me in charge as the acting CEO and then the CEO. And it was an absolute train wreck that I inherited. We had several lawsuits going on. Luckily, they were in the final phases. We had the state of Virginia that said that we weren't compliant with franchise laws. We had a lot of angry franchisees, and the business entity itself was losing money, right? Whew. So what did we do? Luckily, when the former CEO left, that gave us some money because he was making a pretty decent salary. And he also, on top of that, was, I learned out later, funneling money to his brother, who was our franchise development person. So, you know, definitely people not working out of integrity and not working in the best interest of the franchisees. So the first thing I had to do is build trust. So we shut down selling franchises for 2 years. We were fortunate enough that we were break even with royalties that the franchisees were paying us. So we weren't having to sell franchises to keep the lights on, which is a true blessing and such a gift in franchising. But the franchisees got it because they said, boy, if you're willing to do that, then you must be in it for us. We're going to give you the benefit of the doubt. Most of the franchisees did. And then what we did is we started taking the capital, the money that we were making, we were reinvesting it into the franchisees. So we were developing programs like signing up with a company that does all of our earned media, which means that we've gotten coverage, say, in Colorado Springs and Denver on the local news channels talking about all different types of things. Right now, we're doing a program where it's on the vaccine-generated antibody test. And it's really timely, it's informative, and consumers get to know us as a trusted provider. So those are some of the things we did starting back in 2015. So I've continually reinvest. We've hired more people, put together more programs to help support the franchisees. So it's definitely been a shift with that. And one thing that I've always say to my staff is I'm a big believer in incremental improvements. You know, I tell you what, when we are faced with these huge challenges, right? And you've got it in franchising, you have it from all different sides. I've got my investor I have to make happy. Luckily, we're a private company, so it keeps it contained. We've got the franchisees to keep happy. And to keep happy, usually that correlates with making money and enjoying what they're doing. And then I've got the home office team to keep happy, enjoy what they're doing. And then, of course, we have the employees of the franchisees. That's a lot of constituents to try to keep where you're moving things forward. And I always say that you know, franchising is shifting. It's like a cruise line, right? It's not a speedboat. So you can have the best idea in the world, but you've got to I've got to get 194 locations now marching right instead of left. And boy, it is a really, really hard thing to do, as Deb well knows, since she's been in the business so long. So what I just am a big mantra is with my team, incremental improvements. We're not going to be able to change it overnight. So let's put into place the things that hopefully we will look back in a year and go, wow, we made a lot of changes. And it wasn't as stressful as it could have been because we took it off in bite-sized chunks. And then getting the franchisees to understand that. Because another thing with franchisees, they want change, but then they don't. Well, I want it to be this way, but I don't want to have to do anything. And I'm not being negative about franchisees. They then get the change that they want. And then it's like, oh my gosh, now I have to execute. Boy, it sounded really good, but this is a little bit harder now that I have to execute. So just making those incremental changes, it really, I think, helps when you're working with a system when you've got so many different constituents. And then another thing for us that we've done that to me, and I know that many of you have said you're in the caring world, right? You're either nonprofits or nursing or working with placement for elder care, you know, creative things, all of these things that are so wonderful giving back to the community. But we then embrace giving back to the community and making that part of the brand. So what we'll do at the home office level is, and COVID set us back on this last year for obvious reasons, but we would do things like go work at the Atlanta Community Food Bank. And oh my gosh, that was so much fun. We'd go in and sort food. People were down looking and focusing on a task at hand to help other people. And then they enjoyed working together because it was kind of a team building thing. And then of course we all went for beer afterwards and kind of celebrated. We've packed meals for the elderly. We've done walks for the homeless, all types of things related to the Atlanta market. And then for our franchisees, we support them in their markets with what they're doing and at a local level. And then we have different things that we work on and support. For example, in 2018, our last franchise conference, it was actually in Denver, right on 16th Street. It was awesome. And we did a program where we gave back money to the Children's Hospital because we actually had a team member whose child was going through an illness, and it was a way of supporting her and giving back to the community. So that to me is real important for our franchisees and for our employees to see that we're not just about building a local business, and we are giving back to our community by the services we provide, but we're also giving back by being present, right? You can always give money, but the packing the food and seeing the constituents you're working with, you know, we help in Houston, we have a homeless women's shelter that we work with. So just a lot of things that is very local. So that's just a little bit about me. And what I'd like to do now is just open it up to a few questions until Deb says time out. And then I'll buzz out because I am driving to the beach shortly after this. So any questions for me? I know I've said quite a lot, and I really appreciate you guys being so open and engaged.
I'm going to jump in there and tell everybody, and I think I put this in our communication, that Clarissa has been recognized as a leader in franchising as well as the community. So thank you for helping my little community here. It's been great having you. Does anyone have any questions for Clarissa? I see in the chat that you're getting kudos.
Oh, thank you. And thank you so much. Gosh, wow. Oh, wow. That you guys are making my way out to vacation. This just makes it so wonderful. Thank you for the kind words. I really appreciate it.
So Deb, may I say, Clarissa, it is amazing how you persevered. You are the model of what I would like to do, really. Thank you. And thank you for reminding me about continuing to keep the doors open, which I have, but I haven't followed through. So now, right after we hang up, I'm making a list of people I need or agencies I need to call to follow through. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Boy, it's amazing. You are amazing, honestly.
Oh, gosh, thank you.
Really, thank you.
Mary?
Melissa, I just want to say thank you so kindly. What a wonderful presentation. Being a healthcare provider and a nurse for many years, I'm very much interested in learning more and more about empowerment and empowerment of individuals in terms of their health and wellness. So wonderful presentation. I look forward to sending my clients to you.
Oh, wonderful. That means the world to me.
Clarissa, I just want to add my kudos, and especially what you said about being in your 20s and getting promoted. I think some of us feel, and I know I felt this way at times, that we have to have everything, you know, that perfection. Like we have to have it all together all the time before we can move ahead. And so I love that fake it till you make it. And in a way, it's not that we're faking it, it's that we're tapping into inner skills that we probably didn't even realize that we had because of lack of confidence. And I know I just found you incredibly inspirational and down to earth. So thank you for sharing your wisdom.
Oh, thank you. And one thing that I will say with that, Cindy, I was raised in a family that they didn't go to college. They didn't know how to, unlike what I can do with my children, mentor me. And I didn't know anything about the business world. So, you know, when you don't have any of that mentoring, you really feel like you're out of you have no baseline to kind of go after. So it is just that leaning in and saying, and if I don't make it, what I kept telling myself, if I can't do this, what's the worst that could happen? I just look stupid. Okay, well, I can take that.
Yeah, I met a coach once who said, you know, that what she told people is just look at somebody else who's doing it and saying, hey, if they're doing it, how hard can it be, right? So I just thank you so much.
So Clarissa, would it be possible for you to put your name or contact info in our chat so that we can connect on LinkedIn, or maybe if somebody wants to reach out to you, but you know, individually to do a little follow-up one-on-one, that would be fantastic.
Absolutely. I would be happy to. There's my name. You can find me on LinkedIn. And also, but email, I get as we all, a lot of emails in LinkedIn, and it's a little bit much. So just reach out to me directly with my email address. Love to connect with you. Love to chat with you guys. I can always make time. It just makes my day and gives me something to look forward to above and beyond what I do day in and day out. Wants to connect. And with that, Deb, I know you guys have a great presentation. By the way, Deb, do me a favor, because I really, really wish I could stay for Mallory's session because it's so timely for me too. So please send me the recording so I can hear from Mallory's sage counsel as well and connect with her.
Have a great time at the beach, and thank you.
All right.
Thank
Thanks a lot,
you.
everybody. Be safe. Be
Thank
well, and
you.
God bless. Okay.
Take
Bye-bye.
care.
Okay. So
Great.
Mallory, you need to be a host, correct?
Sorry, Deb, it's cutting out a little bit.
I think she was saying, okay, you're the host now, so Mallory.
Okay.
So if you need to share the screen or whatever you were working on, I think that's what she was trying to say.
Let's see if this works. PowerPoint?
Yep.
Yes?
Yes.
Perfect.
Okay.
Okay. So that is a tough act to follow. That was amazing. So thank you, everybody. As I said earlier, I'm an attorney with Welborn Sullivan Meck Tookey in Denver. It's WSMT for short, so I don't have to keep saying the full name. So I'm excited to be here this morning and to speak to you guys about the basics of estate planning. I will tell you a little bit about myself first and how I came to be in Bailey. But once we get to the estate planning portion, please feel free to jump in, ask questions. And I have my contact info included, and I'll put it in the chat as well. So if you want to reach out to me afterwards, please do. So let's see if this will go. Perfect. So I am originally from a small town in Oklahoma. I attended the University of Oklahoma for undergrad. This is where I met my husband, and then later for law school as well. Boomer sooner, always have to throw that in. While I was finishing law school, my husband was working at an oil and gas company in Oklahoma, and his company informed him that he was moving to Denver or losing his job. So moving to Denver it was. So when I finished up law school, I graduated. 2 weeks later, I moved out here with him. And the only thing we knew at that point is that we would be located downtown where his job was. So we got an apartment there. And then it turned out that my firm ended up being downtown as well. So we were there for actually 5 years before we moved out here to Bailey last year with our dog, Juke, who you saw, who is one person that is not pleased about the slow. He's kind of short. So, but we absolutely love it up here. It's a little bit more like home to us, and it's just a great place to be. So what I do at WSMT, like I said, it's kind of an interesting mix. It's mainly estate planning, probate, and elder law, but I also do some oil and gas work. WSMT is a natural resources focused firm, but we are pretty big. We have 37 attorneys in 2 offices, one in Denver and one in Casper. So we pretty much have attorneys that practice in every practice area, and we try to be full service to our clients. The mix I do specifically comes from my background, which is a little bit unique. My undergrad is actually in geology, and then I went to law school after that. But estate planning and probate is really what I'm passionate about. I love helping people. So that's always the area of my practice that I'm really looking to grow and gain new clients in. And hopefully that will continue. So what is an estate plan and who needs one? The answer to that question is everyone needs one. An estate plan helps you decide what happens to your assets after you pass away. It also allows you to appoint an agent to act on your behalf if you become incapacitated with respect to your financial matters, medical decisions. And it also outlines your preference with respect to medical decisions. So like I said, the answer is everyone needs one, but if you think you don't need one, this should motivate you a little bit. Every state, including Colorado, has a default estate plan. So if you don't make one, Colorado has made one for you. And oftentimes, and I can speak from experience on this, 9 times out of 10, actually probably 10 times out of 10, it's not what you would want, and it's not something your family members would want as well. So that's my pitch for doing your estate planning, even if you don't think you need to. So what makes up an estate plan? There's typically 4 or 5 documents, a last will and testament, a trust, it's only necessary in certain circumstances, a general power of attorney, medical power of attorney, and then also a living will or advanced directive. And I say plus any other documents because, for example, if you own your own business, which I know a lot of you do, you might have other documents that come into play. So if you have, for example, an LLC with an operating agreement, that probably dictates what happens to your business when you pass away, who might take over, that kind of thing. It can also include, if you have minor kids, an appointment of guardian, which would specify who would be looking out for your minor child or children after you pass away. But an estate plan doesn't always have to be this complicated. We'll talk about it a little bit more here in a minute, but if your assets include a lot of non-probate assets, which I'll talk about, you may not need all of these documents. So we will talk about that further in just a second. Okay, so what I'm going to go over today are those kind of 5 documents that I mentioned. Like I said, I'm happy to talk with any of you after, answer any questions. So if something specific comes to mind, feel free to let me know. But this is kind of just what we'll generally go over. So a will controls what happens to probate assets upon your death. So I mentioned non-probate assets. There are 2 categories, probate and non-probate. Non-probate is anything that your will does not cover. So for example, the easiest example is, let's say you and your spouse own a home in joint tenancy together. If one of you were to pass away, that home automatically goes into the name of the other joint tenant, so your spouse in that example. Even if your will said you left everything to some other person, that joint tenancy designation controls. It's the same way with a beneficiary designation on, say, your life insurance. So if you have a beneficiary named and that's different than what you said in your will, that beneficiary designation is going to control. So that's why I mentioned earlier, it doesn't always have to be this complicated. If you have all of your assets set up as non-probate assets with beneficiary designations, it's possible you don't need a will at all. Obviously something to talk about with your attorney/financial advisor if you have one, but that's where you can kind of get around having a will in those situations. But for anything that doesn't have a beneficiary designation or is not owned in joint tenancy, you are talking about your assets then being controlled by your will. And once you pass away, your estate administration is handled at that point by your personal representative who's named in your will. That person, if you've heard the term, can also be known as an executor. It's the exact same thing. So trust. I mentioned they're only necessary in certain circumstances. That's true, but also depends on the attorney. So some people say that trusts are always required. It's not the case. Some people just tend to prefer them, but the circumstances in which they would be necessary are what I have on the slide. So if you are leaving part of your estate if you want to leave part of your estate to your kids and they're minors, for example, you would absolutely have to have a trust in that scenario. But you can also leave your assets in a trust for your kids if you want to control what ages they're receiving the distributions. So for example, I have a good friend, her 2 sons are adults, but she has a trust anyway because she wants to control the distributions to them so that they get it at 45, 50, and 55 instead of outright when she dies. Another reason to have a trust would be if you have property located in other states. So let's say you own a house in Denver and a house in Casper, for example, and it's not in joint tenancy, so it's a probate asset. If you own property in other states and you don't have that property put into a trust, your estate would have to be probated in both places when you die. So in Colorado, and then also in the state in which you owned property, so Wyoming, for example. That can cause a lot of issues for loved ones after you pass away. Probate is fairly simple in Colorado, but that's not always true for other states. So that would be a reason that you would need a trust. The third reason, I kind of just talked about it, avoiding probate. People in California, for example, in California, probate is extremely expensive. It's a long process. There's a lot to it. So some people come in saying, oh, I need a trust because I don't want to do probate. In Colorado, probate, like I said, it's very simple. It's not expensive. So that's less of a concern here. But the other reason would be if you wanted your estate administration to be more private. So probate involves court filings, which are public. If you have a trust, that administration is done internally amongst the trust administrator and anybody else involved. There's no public filings there. And then lastly, trust can be included in your estate plan for a variety of reasons when it comes to tax consequences. That's not as common right now because the taxable threshold for an estate for a person that's single is 11.2 million. For a couple, it's 22.4 million. There's just not a lot of people out there with that net worth. I wish I was one of them, but I'm not. So if you're not in that category, the estate planning is a lot simpler. You're not needing to implement a trust or multiple trusts to get around those estate tax consequences. So next is a general power of attorney. So this, I would say, is probably the singular most powerful document you would be implementing in an estate plan. Under a general POA, an agent has authority to handle certain financial matters on your behalf. It can happen in two ways. Either you can give that person authority immediately upon you signing the document, that's typical amongst spouses, or it can just kick in when you're incapacitated and unable to handle such things yourself. But the general POA allows someone to make withdrawals from bank accounts, pay bills on your behalf, cash checks. One area in which it's frequently utilized among spouses, and the reason that it's good to have it effective immediately, typically amongst those, is let's say you're closing on a property and one of you's out of the country and unable to sign. With that general POA, one spouse could sign on the other's behalf. But the powers under a general POA, it's important to remember, are only what's enumerated in the document. So if it says specifically you're not able to access a certain account, then you wouldn't be able to do that. A general POA, as you'll see, this applies to all of them. It's revocable and it terminates upon the principal, which would be you, the person executing it. It terminates upon your death. So it only is effective while you're alive. So medical power of attorney, kind of the same thing. That gives an agent authority to handle certain healthcare decisions for you. Same thing, you can make it effective immediately or only when you're incapacitated. That agent then can direct medical treatment, access your medical records, and there's also an option, at least within the documents I draft, for that agent to be able to override your advance directive or living will, which we'll talk about here soon. A medical power of attorney covers all healthcare situations. An advance directive or living will just applies to your decisions with respect to when you're in a terminal, when you have a terminal illness or when you're in a persistent vegetative state, but we'll talk about that more in a minute. It's also revocable, same thing, authority terminates upon the principal's death. If you don't have a power of attorney, that's where you get into the guardianship and conservatorship situation typically. So let's say that you do become incapacitated, you don't have these POAs in place. Your loved ones then are faced with having to go to court to get the power to make decisions for you. So guardianship, medical decisions, conservatorship, financial decisions. Those are really expensive and time consuming, as Beth knows, and they are just, they're messy. You can get into a situation there where your loved ones end up fighting about who should be in charge of one thing or another. It's way cheaper and saves everyone a headache on the back end if you're able to execute these POAs while you're living and enumerate your decisions while you're able to do so. One thing that has come up kind of recently for me with some clients is they say, okay, fine, I need POAs, but I don't have anybody to name. There are professional fiduciaries that you can name under these documents that you can have a conversation with ahead of time. You can interview them and based on their fee structure, pay a certain amount, and they would step into these roles if you needed an agent to act on your behalf. So you don't have to have, a family member lined up there. Lastly, so the advance directive or living will, this is where you are stating your wishes with respect to life-sustaining procedures if you either have a terminal condition, so think like stage 4 cancer, or you're in a persistent vegetative state. So Colorado defines a life-sustaining procedure on the slide as any medical procedure that only serves to prolong the dying process, including CPR, defibrillation, medications, and surgery. So you are stating your wishes under this document. I mentioned under your medical power of attorney, you can give someone the option to override these decisions if you want. The typical situation in which I would see that happen is, let's say that you've named your spouse as agent, but all of your family is overseas. And so if something happened to you, you don't want life-sustaining procedures to be continued, but you also want to allow your spouse to postpone those being removed if someone needs to travel and needs time to get there. That's the situation, I think, in which most people would choose to let their agent override. Also, under the advance directive or living will, you can dictate whether or not you want to make any anatomical gifts, whether that's just to family or for the purposes of research or anything like that. And that is also revocable. at any time. So that's quick. It's a lot of information. I just wanted to give a brief overview and leave enough time for questions. I have, like I said, my contact information is on there. I am, and I mean this, truly happy anytime to have a phone call with any of you or anybody you want to send my way. It does not cost money to have that initial phone call, but I'm happy to answer questions and just talk through scenarios with any of you. So please feel free to reach out to me at any time. But yeah, I'm happy to take questions.
Okay, that was a lot of information, Mallory. You didn't. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. We'll see if my volume's working any better this time. I just wanted to say thank you for all the information, Mallory. I lost my husband 2.5 years ago, and luckily we did happen to have life insurance. We did have time to get these papers in place. And even though you're young and you don't expect anything to happen, it's really important to have some of these things done to make things more simple when that time comes. And even, you know, some people's parents still don't even have these things done. Some people that have never had children don't have these things done because they don't think it affects them. There's no one to leave things to. They are really important documents. And some of them, I love the lawyers, I love your help. Some of them can even be downloaded offline, an advance directive, a living will that you can just even have notarized at the bank to have something until you can meet with an official planner or a lawyer. And it is important. Thank you. Great information.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's true. One thing I should mention with respect to the advance directive specifically, Colorado is a little unique. There's actually a couple different versions of that form. And one of those versions you can get through your doctor. It's called a 5 wishes form. It's similar, but a little different. So if that one in particular is specific to you, that's one that you can talk to your physician about and handle that way. If that one is one that you know, if it's pressing and you've got something and you want to get that one done right away. So that's a really good point. Thanks, Rachel.
So great information, Mallory. I just wanted to encourage for any of us here on this call who might have living parents. Mine are not living, but I was my mother's person, and man, she did not have she had some things in place, but not a lot. She was very resistant. And as her daughter, I went through literally hell, both in the last month of her life, just dealing with that, but then being her executor, because she just didn't have a lot of stuff, and it was like a hunting expedition. So my husband and I, a couple of years ago, said we are determined not to put our kids, in this case, my stepkids, through that. So just to be kind to those others, right?
No, that's a good point. And too often I feel like some of my clients come in and the only reason they're doing their estate planning is because they've had some terrible situation with family where somebody didn't have everything in place and then it was just a nightmare. So that is a completely valid reason to do your estate planning for sure.
Yeah, and I just wanted to echo that. So many of my clients have horror stories, so I always bring that back to push making sure the plan is. And then the other part, the wishes, I wanted to find out, Mallory, does the 5 wishes supersede the healthcare directive, or is it vice versa, number one? And then the other part is the cost. You know, everyone's always worried about cost, but I actually think that, you know, it can be catered to your costs. And so I don't want that to be a reason for not doing that. So yeah. Can you maybe talk about both of those things real quick?
No, that's a good point. Thanks, Sarah. So first of all, the 5 wishes document with your doctor, it can conflict with the advance directive. So when I have clients come in, I ask them if they've done one of the 5 wishes documents. And then if they have, we review it to make sure that it is actually what they want it to say. So that document is very simplistic. It's something that you would do quickly with your doctor. It doesn't include all of the options that like an advance directive would include. The other problem is absolutely those documents can conflict if you've done both and you didn't tell your attorney that you had already done the 5 wishes or either way. So it can create a lot of problems. So Usually the superseding thing is a fight. So it's one or the other. If you want to do 5 wishes, do that. If you come back and do your estate plan later, tell your attorney that you've done a 5 wishes, and then you can revoke that. You can tell your doctor, tear that up. I have now this advanced directive that I have instead. Secondly, cost. So attorneys do it differently. I charge hourly personally, and I would say my range is typically anywhere from $1,500 to $3,000 for an estate plan for, let's say, a couple with minor kids, for example. It's usually never on that upper range. That just is kind of the estimate that I provide. That being said, if you are more interested in a flat fee, I know a lot of great attorneys that do that. It just depends on what you would prefer. Those flat fees tend to be a little higher, but then you know what you're paying up front. So there's a lot of different options there. It just depends on how different attorneys do it. For example, I used to do flat fee, and then my firm does not allow me to do flat fee anymore. So you can get a benefit if you go to someone who's hourly. You're just paying for the work that's being done, but some people like to know that number up front. So there's different structures there.
So we have time for just one more quick one. It looks like Audrey is asking, how do you feel about an attorney being the trustee when a person passes away?
Audrey, do you mean a trustee or an executor? Or both?
Well, in a trust. I was
In a
just
trust?
curious what you thought, because I had some experience with that. So thank you.
I personally would never serve as a trustee.
Good.
That's
Excellent. That's the answer
That's
I
the right
want.
answer.
Thank you.
Yeah, I personally would never do it. I know plenty of great people at banks and other people that do that for a living, and they 100% know what they're doing and are better suited to serve in that role than an attorney. But that's just my personal opinion.
Truly, it can be a conflict of interest.
Yeah, it can get kind of messy and sticky. So
Yeah.
I personally don't do it.
Thank you.
Okay, Mary Pat, did you have something? I thought I saw your hand.
Yes, I did. Really quickly, thank you so much, Mallory. Also, we have nurse practitioners that can help folks with the 5 wishes, as well as I would really encourage everyone to take a look at the Colorado Medical Order Scope of Treatment form. That is a legal form. That is the form that we look at when you come to the hospital, when you come to the ER, and that is truly your wishes and what you want to have done. So I really encourage you to take a look at that.
All right.
Good point.
Thank you, Mallory. Tons of information. So anybody has any follow-up, please reach out to Mallory. Mallory, if you could maybe put your email in the chat, that would be fantastic. Okay, we have just a couple of minutes, and I wanted to get to Pat to let everybody know that Bailey Days and LCell and what Mountain Women in Business are doing for that. So go ahead, Pat.
Hi. Yeah, Bailey Day is going to be June 19th, and it will be from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. So what we will do is Mountain Women in Business has a canopy with sides, and we'll provide that along with table and chairs and a tablecloth. What we would like you to do is sign up for 2-hour periods. We'll get that out to you when it gets a little bit closer, but start thinking about that. And what we'd like you to do is promote not only Mountain Women in Business, but your own business. And this is free to members of Mountain Women in Business. So that's in Bailey. And then in Aspen Park, when LCell Elevation Celebration is coming back. And this summer it'll be July 24th and 25th. As I remember, they didn't have their times in, but normally we cover our booth from about 10 a.m. until 4 p.m. So again, we will have a canopy with sides, table, chairs, etc. And you can bring your information. If you have a banner, be sure to bring bungee cords, etc., that you can hook it onto the sides of the canopy. But during that time, again, you're there to help with your company. So normally we have 2 people at a time. We do have 27 members at this point, so it depends how many sign up for this, but it is coming, and yeah, if you've had your shots, let's go for it.
Okay. Okay, so great. And then I believe Deb is working on putting a little bit of a, gathering together, but I'm not sure if we have all of the details. Do you want to speak to that, Deb, or do you want to wait for the next?
So I'm looking, hopefully you can hear me. I'm not too glitchy.
Yeah.
I'm looking at possibly Sunday, May 16th, to do something at Aspen Creek Cellars where we all meet and greet and drink and have fun, because we can do it in person. Yay! Mark your calendar, probably be about 3 o'clock or so, but we'll certainly send one of those evites out so that everybody knows. And I'm going to open this up to everybody. Do we want to say us and spouses, us and partners, or do we want to just leave it to Mountain Women in Business? So let's think about that. Send me your thoughts. I'm kind of thinking it'd be a time to meet our significant others.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
All
not
right.
ashamed of my significant other. I'll share him. You may not.
Great. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Thank you again, Mallory. It was great information. Deb will put out the recording. So there's lots of good information in the chat. So before you leave, take a quick look into that. And I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of their week.
Hey, thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Pat, for your info on ELSO and Bailey Days.
You're welcome.
Okay, bye.
Real quick, I'm gonna be calling the church to see if and when they might let us meet in person again, because I miss everyone.
Right.
So hopefully
Sure.
we can do that again soon. I get my first shot tomorrow. Love y'all.
Okay. Bye. Take care, everyone.
Bye.